afternoon, everybody. This is Dee with Illinois WorkNet. On the call already, I have Olivia. Tammy will be joining us shortly. So hope everybody's having a super duper day. And I am going to get us rolling. I just want to give everybody a chance to log in to the webinar. And I'm getting myself opened up into our test site. And hopefully, because we've got to show you a couple of things today. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pull up our dashboard numbers. Good, I got in. Pull up our dashboard numbers and talk to everybody about that. All right, so why don't I see anything? Oh, because it was huge. All right, let's see. That's 100%. I think everybody can see that okay. All right, so something new and different that I saw today was there were 3 people in the list that need a 2151. And what I noticed was the customer at a safe haven was scheduled for an intake appointment today. So that must be where they show up in the dashboard on the day of their intake orientation. So Leslie Bates, you had 2. Safe Haven, you had 1. Nobody has any 2151A, 2151s past due. Yay! Enrollment required. We have 3 for Leslie Bates. You got to get taken care of. 1 for National Label and 1 for OAI. And then 2151 past due. North Lawndale, you've got 1 in there, and that's kind of odd. So I'm wondering if it is somebody that was reassigned to you. So if you can check into that one, that would be wonderful. Tri-County Urban League, you've got all of yours. There's 45 of them that are past due. Well, I don't know if that's all of them, but you got a bunch that are past due. So if you can take care of that, that would be super duper. Minimal progress, no progress, and situation worse. We're not going to talk about those in depth, but I do want to remind everybody that if they end up there, you need to be scheduling them for a conciliation appointment. And then once you get the 2846G uploaded, upload a 2151A, putting them into conciliation. And then that way they'll come out of those lines on the Epik enrolled dashboard. Completion status, a couple of odds and ends. Again, Tri-County Urban League, you've got 5. You're the big winner today. Those mean that there is something going on. DHS has marked them in some form or fashion, and you need to mark them as complete in the Epik system on the completion information side section of the progress page. SNAP ineligible, we've got a couple of agencies with a couple of big numbers here. CAPS Cottage Grove, you've got 6. National Label, you've got 6. Everybody else has a few odds and ends there. That just means that DHS has marked the customer as ineligible, and you need to respond in like kind on the progress page to mark them as complete and as SNAP ineligible. We've got packets that have been started and or completed. So it looks like Frank and Judith at a Safe Haven have 37 of them ready and just maybe haven't had the time to upload the signed copies. Albany Park, you're in decent shape. Asian Human Services, you've got 18 started, but none ready and none done. Kara, you're okay there. Catholic Charities, you've got 4 ready to review. That must be a staffing that you have coming up. Then Central State Sears, 2 started, 4 ready, 19 done. Caps Cottage Grove, you've got 35 ready. So that means that you probably just, again, haven't had time to upload them. Roseland, you didn't have any started, ready, or done. So we need to pay attention there. Inspiration, I think, is done. Instituto, she's got 13 ready. Jane Adams has 1 ready to go. Mantricon, you have 8 done. Yay. National Label, you've got 16 ready for review. North Lawndale, you've got 6 ready for review. OEI, you've got 12 done. Yay. Rock River, or wait, did I skip somebody? Phalanx, you've got 6 ready and 6 done. Rock River, yay for Yolanda. You've got all of yours, or almost all of yours, uploaded and done. And then the other agencies that don't have any numbers are not required to do them. But just to let you know, Mantricon and Rock River Training are not required to do theirs, but they still have some done. It's a really good way for those of you who are on the call that are in the non-mandatory staffing areas to make sure that you're doing these with your DHS offices, just so that you guys can all stay on the same page. So we'll get these numbers sent out into the minutes so that you guys can see for sure what's going on with those. All right, then check in if you haven't had a chance. We're going to talk a little bit here. There's a lot of looking at the real dashboard. I want to get there, and then I'm going to share my screen. Give me just a second. Oop. Here we go. We've got let me hit send on. I just sent an email. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong tab there. Here we go. Now I can get back in here. All right. So now we've got on here referral pending. There's 81 people. Now this is across the state that are in referral pending. Appointment has not been scheduled. We've got a couple of the agencies that I've been talking to recently have some cohorts or training sessions that might be starting very soon. And if you've got people sitting in your dashboard in this line item on your dashboard, check with those particular offices, your contacts at those offices, and see if they know when and if those people are scheduled for a DHS appointment to be rescheduled. Because if you have a training session starting and you need to get it filled up, those people could be part of that cohort. So let's try and work with DHS to see if they can get that done for you. Don't be obnoxious about it, of course, but make sure that you can have a conversation with them about that. All right. Next, we want to talk about a couple of things in the tool. Let's see. Hi, Dee, we have 2 people in that line whose case notes indicate they are exempt. Are they marked as exempt? That's the biggest question, because we want to make sure that they're participating even if they are exempt, if they want to, because they still can. But if they're not marked as exempt, if they're still green, then DHS has, excuse me, DHS hasn't done what they need to do in Epik to make that function properly. All right, I moved this over. If you need to check in, please do so. Now what I want to do is I want to go to test, and we're going to pull up the screen in here a little bit. And I want to show you what was our first thing, Olivia?
Adding cost to steps, specifically supportive services.
Okay. So on a customer who in their plan, we're going to go to Jack back here. Let me enlarge this view. On Jack back, what we want to do, for example, under personal development, when we have steps in here, child care assistance, we want to try and start tracking costs associated with particular steps. One of the things that I'm going to be looking at when I start coming back out into the field are, I'm going to start looking for ledgers of supportive services costs that you have provided for the different customers. So this does not do anything for your fiscal reporting, but it does help us determine where things are going, and we want to talk about all of this here. So the first thing that we want everybody to be able to do is add a provider for a step. And once you have entered information, you can pick from a drop-down list. So once you get Elgin Daycare Center entered and you've got other customers that are using that, then you can pick Elgin Daycare Center and then just fill out the rest of the little information. Additionally, what we're talking about here is adding the dollar value of a service. So if this is $200, and we're going to offer this to the customer 3 times. So then we save this. So on here, it was already offered as $15 for 5 times. So for a total cost of $675. This will help you keep a running total of where you're going for that $1,000 of supportive services that you can offer to that customer. If you are approaching the $1,000 limit and you're going to be going over, you need to reach out to Tammy specifically and make sure that you know where you're going, what's anticipated, and what that cost will actually be. And then present that to Tammy and she can help you with this. Eric is asking, should this be done for everyone that has received supportive services for the life of the grant? My suggestion on these next 2 items that we're talking about is that it should very definitely be done for anybody who is in your retained for 90 days and then work backwards on your list for the benchmark report, then anybody who's been employed, then anybody who has completed training, and then as you can, finish up anybody who is still in progress. And Olivia, do we have a time limit on this, or is this on the TABE? The time limit is on the TABE.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So now the next piece that we want to talk about is entering TABE scores on the assessment portion of a customer's profile. So I'm still on Jack back, and right here in the gray toolbar is the assessments. This is a spot where you can see the customer's skills and interests that they have done in from Illinois WorkNet in general, and one of those tests was completed during the application process. If they have completed Employment 101, that information will show up here. And then we also, if they do the NOCTI, if you do any observational or worksite evaluations, we've talked about all of these on different webinars. One of the things that we want to do is enter more assessments. So we want to add the TABE results here. And this is going to now be required for everybody working backwards from retained employment, employed, and then completed training within 2 weeks. And this is not a request by Olivia and I. This is a request from Lisa Jones, who is the manager for the Department of Commerce of the Office of Employment and Training. Yes, some of the information is in the STEP, Kelsey, but this is more detailed information, and what I'm going to show you right now is how to add this. And let me remind you, this request is not coming from me. This is coming from Tammy's boss. But limits on backdating, ask me what you mean, or tell me what you mean. Sure, we'll include it in the follow-up to this. And then I believe we have instructions on how to complete this, and if we don't, we will get that out as well. All right, so now to add assessment results, you click on the button there that says that. You select which type of assessment you are entering. So this is Basic Skills Assessment. It is Adult Basic ABE. It is, now I forgot which one is already in there. We have, no, it didn't save it. Cody has to fix an issue with this, so we will get this repaired. You would have to go in and enter each section of the TABE that you provide to the customer, and the language, I believe we test for math and reading right now, so I'm going to assume that this one is math. We did a TABE 910. It automatically fills in the description. You can put in the assessment date, and you can go, right now this is only allowing me to do January. Olivia, if you could please make a note for Cody that we need to be able to go backwards on this. And then grade equivalent, whatever they score on the grade equivalency, say it's 11, then there is a scale score that is associated with this. I believe somebody told me that an 11 would be somewhere around a 617 mark, and that would be passed or whatever the results are if you're moving that customer forward. Was it given computer-based, interviews, scenario, self-guided, proctored, or written? And okay, so Carmen, what are they supposed to be putting in the results? I don't give TABE tests. What would you suggest customers put in there? Oh, I see. Do you see what Eric's saying?
Grade level equivalency. Can you eliminate the drop-down menu and just have that be typed in? E.g., grade level equivalency can. Yeah, so what we can do is we can have the programmers update that. We have to keep it a drop-down menu because as you saw, that whatever you select there will then populate the educational functional level like they do in IWDS. But we can make that say like 11 to 11.4 and then like 11.5 to 11.9.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then Carmen said perhaps the number correct. I'm not sure, though, as this is not something that you would usually put in with a TABE test. So let's make that results not required as well.
Will do. Yeah, the scale score is the big one we're wanting to get in these results. And then Dee, if you can go back and click on that calendar icon.
It's only giving me the month.
If you click, yeah, but it's because you're in 2018, so if you go to click previous, right next to January, and then click that drop down, it'll now give you all of the dates for 2017.
All right.
And it won't let you put a future assessment date because obviously they haven't been assessed yet and you don't know what the scores and stuff are. So it's only showing January because February's in our future.
All right. So then if we go to next for 2018, then, okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. You could, under results, baseline, improve, not improve, no change. Oh, that's a good idea. Because maybe they've taken the TABE test again, but not required. Yes, Kelsey, I totally agree with this, but not required. Mary Beth is asking, where do we get the scale scores? Do any of you guys know where it comes out? I know I was in one of the offices the other day and they explained to me where it comes. They show up on the TABE results.
Yeah.
Okay. So Yolanda's looking for some information on that. So Yolanda's at Rock River Training. If one of you guys wouldn't mind giving her a call, or Yolanda, make a phone call to one of these people that look like they know what they're talking about, Carmen at National Label or Eric at Homework Hangout down in Decatur. You're in Decatur, right? Give them a call, and then they can talk you through that. Okay. All right, so then when we save this, we just put in the math, then we need to go back and do the same thing for the reading. And we noticed that we do have a glitch on this system right now, and it doesn't give us, and our programmer is working on that to give us all of that information in here.
Right now, though, you guys will be able to add it, no problem. It's just seeing two of the fields when you go back and look at it.
Right, right. And one of the fields is which test you already entered, so so you just have to be real careful about which ones you're entering. It is live now. It has been live for quite a while. Yes, reading and total math. Yes, you can edit, but that's one of the pieces that is, we're missing two of the boxes, and our programmer is working on getting that fixed. So if I want to go back into this, and I want to go into this TABE 910 that has the 617 results, I'm not seeing which functional area, and I'm not seeing the assessment name. So you'd have to remember which one was which. And then you can go back in and edit any of these items. So if you happen to have made a mistake, Loris, you can do that. Okay, and then Kelsey is saying has not been required for quite a while. Yeah, we know, but the manager of the Office of Employment and Training for the Department of Commerce now wants this all done for within 2 weeks, and this is, like I said, Tammy's boss, not Olivia or me or Tammy. It's Tammy's boss that wants this. And as I said, work backwards. Start with your people that are retained for 90 days, then do your employed, and then do your completed training, and then that will give you a little bit of a break. To get back into the people that are just in progress. I don't know the answer to your question on the consequences, Kelsey. And I would assume that if you at least get them started, it will be better for you than if you don't have any of them done at all. The glitch is only when you go back in to review or edit. So it's it's not going to prevent you from entering information to begin with. That was answering Eric's question.
Dean, this is Tammy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. And just to add to that, the big reason for this is one of the things we want to evaluate is the level that the participants came to you at when we're looking at this. And specifically, some of the things that we can evaluate is does the people who become non-compliant, are they like at a lower reading and math level compared to those that are higher reading and math? So there's going to be a lot of different things we can do with this. And the reason we want that in this section is because that's where we can pull it out. I know it is in the ISTEP, so hopefully you can just go to your ISTEPs and get the information and just transpose it into this. But a big push of what we're doing and what Dee's doing too is basically making sure our data is good and clean, because that's what's going to be looked at by the pilot group. And the better that we tell the picture of what we've done, and they can understand what we've done, then that's going to affect, their, outcome as far as what our program did. As far as getting it done, and we'll be talking about some changes that are going on with modifications and stuff here soon. But if anybody's going to be closing the grant this month, then they need to get this done ASAP, along with everything else Dee's working with. I know that we have potentially 2 that are going to be closing, so that information needs to be entered, with soon, so that way it's a clean data set before we close the grants. But as far as the rest of you, we can potentially look at, extending you for another week or 2 to get this completed. Does that work?
And especially for the agencies that have a couple hundred participants.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to take, I know that it's going to take them longer. And there are a few agencies that don't give a TABE test. They give a TABE knockoff test. So you guys are in the clear, but it's not as good data information that we would be gathering.
But we still need to have that identified in the assessments tab. So, and we'll work with you on that. If you're using something other than the TABE, reach out to send Dee and I an email and let us know what you're using, and then we'll work with you on what needs to be entered on that.
All right. Okay, so now, next piece up is a new report, and we just discovered that not all of you can see this report. We are going to work on this so that this allows you to see this. So from the Reports tab, we have the Istep Report. And the Istep Report is telling you who has what steps done of your customer base. Then, and it's loading right now, so I apologize for the slowness of that. I realize my system always runs slower than everybody else's because I just have all of the customers everywhere. So Olivia's probably does too, except she's closer to the source. All right, so Istep Report tells me of the different sections of the Istep, how many people have steps and which ones they are, and how many people don't have that step. So if you're one of those agencies that has all of your customers participate in Employment 101, and all of a sudden you're seeing that there are 20 of your 95 customers that don't have the Employment 101 done, then there's something missing. Did they drop out before they got it done, or what happened? So you can do a little bit of investigation here. So for example, under career planning, we have 135 people without the step for TABE testing, and we have 11 who do have the step. And then you can see next to it, are they started, open and past due? Are they successfully completed? Was it an unsuccessful completion, or was there a credential earned? So this is a very good tool so that you can use to see, do I have people in the right place for the right steps, and are they done, or did I even add them? And the customers who will show up in the Istep are only those customers that you enrolled. So you don't have to worry with this about customers that never showed up for you. They won't be in this report. And Olivia, did you get a chance to talk to Cody to find out when this might be opened up to everyone?
Nope, but I can go check really quick and then type it in the chat pod.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. All right, next thing that we have on our list is following up on TA visits. I have 3 scheduled for next week. I'm going to be visiting Catholic Charities, National Able, and Phalanx. And then the following week, I'm going to be visiting Jane Addams. Oh, I'm also going to see I'm going to see Jane Addams, and I'm going to see Southland. I need to get something scheduled with Inspiration. So, D'Amico, after the call, if you can give me a jingle back, and we can talk about a date that I can get there to visit with you, that would be super duper wonderful. And what we're going to be doing at these visits is we're going to be going over the letters that you got from Tammy about the things that were needed improvement on your systems for the Epik program. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through, see if you've got any questions about any of that, how to fix it if you haven't gotten it fixed, and any of those still teachable moments that we can work with you to make things better. Then we're also going to go over your benchmark customers to make sure that some of these things that we talked about today are entered in to the information so that we can have great data for F&S from the USDA. So then I'll be looking at just little odds and ends for a number of different customers. And if you're missing it on 2 or 3, then you might be missing it on all of them. PWE question. Our payroll reports have not been reviewed since 11/6/2017. Is this everyone or just us? Okay, sorry, paid work experience.
And this is me.
Tammy.
Yeah. I will be taking a look at those payroll. The main thing that is so that I download them and I do a comparison between the between what's in your GRS report. So that is, you can assume that they're going to be fine and be approved. And like I said, as we go through them, if there's anything that looks weird, we'll let you know.
Okay. And it won't affect your TA stuff, Kelsey?
No, it won't affect your TA. The only thing would be, especially as we're looking at closeouts, we'll want to look at your GRS and look at that and say, okay, if there's a disconnect, then why is there a disconnect? And that's when Dee's out there too, and she's looking, at the payroll and saying, okay, have you got all your payroll uploaded in the system for all your customers? You just need to make sure that you have it uploaded there.
So I was talking with one agency the other day. They were actually having a challenge getting some payroll uploaded. So we're going to be meeting about that. Everyone is going to have a follow-up TA visit. Mary Beth, I don't think you've gotten your letter. Well, maybe you have gotten your letter yet, but I give you until after your response is due back to Tammy before I schedule with you. So if you want to be proactive and get your letter done faster, we can visit you sooner. And I like visiting Mary Beth because I can ride the train down.
And there's still a few letters that I'm to be getting out hopefully this week. So I like Matricon, Leslie Bates. I think I have OAI Inspiration, Tri-County Urban League, and Homework Hangout. So those will be forthcoming.
All right. Tammy, I think you're up for modifications and grants.
Okay, folks, we are going to be modifying grants like now. There has been some things going on last minute with the Epik program. One of the things that is transpiring is it does not sound like that we're going to have an additional cohort. There was conversations like in August, September, when we met our 5,000 about trying to add a cohort. and that was tabled, and then the conversation came back up around December. And it sounds like from DHS perspective is that we will not be adding any new cohort to this, which I think we're getting to the point where it's going to be difficult to incorporate anyway, because it does have to be approved by FNS, and they would probably take 30 days. So we're really getting at a crunch time where it'd be hard to incorporate. So with that said, our management is talking about, since this is a performance-based contract too, and the only customers you're going to be getting is those that are re-engaging, and that's a very slow process. Our management is looking at, or wants to start looking at slowing down the Epik project and closing out our business, which basically means customers that you have in progress, we need to finish out whatever services that they're getting. And then customers that have finished training, you need to work with them to get them jobs, and then you need to work with them on the retention side too. So at this point, what we're looking at doing, instead of extending the grants to December, we're going to be probably extending them to the end of June, so that we can finish up services. Now, if anybody has customers that's going to require a longer date to complete their training, and it has to be specific training, like seat time training, like they're in a maybe an RN program or something, something that's a longer training, and that may be, exaggerated because that's too long. But if somebody's going to be in a longer training past June, you just need to let me know if your customers and if there's more time that's needed. So the big push, like I said, once again, is going to be finishing training. Now, there's this re-engagement process that's still going on with DHS, and I don't think, we have not had a ton. We are getting some more coming through, but we still will be doing the re-engagement. The thing is, with these customers, you have to look at short-term training, so it may have to be something that can be completed in, say, 6 weeks or something. And if you can do a short-term training and get them through that and then work with them to get a job, then that's great. If it's something that you cannot do in a short period of time, say you can't have completed and worked on employment efforts by the end of June, then we need to focus on job placements, and we need to work on their work readiness and their skills to be placed in jobs. So it's not the intent of Epik, because that's kind of what JPP does, but we're getting to the point now where we're going to have to really focus on completing our customers. You need to start looking at your placement rates. That's one of the big things. There are some providers whose employment rates are really low, and retention rates are really low. So that is something that you need to really focus on and work on with your customers. So that is a bit of a change from where we were originally. So what we're going to be doing with these grant agreements, Dee's putting up some surveys. So what the surveys basically say is, do you want to extend your grant through 6/30? And I'm hoping, we get quite a few guys that want to do this, because we still have customer base that we need to serve. And then, do you need a budget modification for line items? So there's quite a few of you that have funds available still in your grant agreements. It's just in line items that you have maxed out, or they're line items that you need to potentially move money to. So that is something else that I need to know, is if you need a budget modification that can move money between line items. Except admin. Admin is a 5% cap at this point. And there is still some work on DHS's side that we're trying to do with a modification for your budgets, so we can make some adjustments in the line items for that also. And then the next one is, do you anticipate you'll need a budget increase to function through 6/30? We are not going to do we're going to do a modification without doing the budgets right now, because we have to get this done by the end of this month. So the first modification is going to take into consideration the scope of work change, which, Dee, can you pull up that document? And if you look at the downloads, there's a GATA uniform budget. And this is what I will be sending out to you guys. And this is a change that we're making in the performance, which this will help, everybody across the board, because the performance did not take into consideration assess and staffing that you guys do. So we've weighted that, we've added that, and we've weighted that heavier, so that's 30%. So that's going to help you guys to recoup all of your costs that you have to do for doing your assessing of these individuals and staffing these individuals, but they may never get placed in a training program. So that is beneficial for all of you guys. And then so that's what this particular modification will do with that, is change that. And there is going to be one other thing that I'll be sending out to you, and it's just saying that we can add additional training programs. At this point, it's kind of a moot point because unless there's somebody that comes in and you want to add a training program that you don't have that makes sense, then we can definitely do that. So we'll add that language. So this is what I'm going to be sending to you. And then we're going to, and if you want to extend your date, then we'll extend the date. So those are the two things in this modification.
It is in the file pod. It is in the file pod if you want to download this out of the file pod.
Correct. And then I'll also send this along with the performance, because you guys had received that before early on, that's an Excel spreadsheet to monitor your performance based upon your earnings. So that's been redone too, and I'll incorporate that in there too so you can kind of see where you're at with that. We are adding something in here that's kind of a bonus area. So if you have customers that you aligned with in-demand occupation credentials, and then if you also place them in that job sector, then there could be additional funds that you can earn from that too. So that could, if you have expenditures more than your earnings, that can offset that. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be looking at and working with you guys on this. There's quite a few agencies out there that really have a pretty darn low average cost per. And so this has been a pretty heavy lift as far as career navigation and operationally running this. So we're going to be talking about that with you too. And based upon it has to be reasonable and realistic. But we will be talking about that with you guys too, especially if you have a really really low average cost per. We're going to look at that also. So that could potentially help you that will help you on the performance side also. So that's why we don't want to do the budget stuff right now, because there's just a lot of variables in that, and with this, what has transpired with not getting any new customers to you guys and the very slow re-engagement, we want to make sure that we're covering all our bases when we do the budget month. So with that said, I
got a couple of questions from some people about this. So if you want, I'll read these to you. Carmen is asking, so are we saying that the extensions are just until the end of June now, or just the completion of training?
It would actually be the grant extensions to the end of June. And I'm not saying that down the road something else comes up that we might end up changing that again, but with the information, and actually I didn't tell you this, FNS has requested from us basically what our timelines are going to be on this and what the amount of funds are that are unobligated, because they are going to be pulling back funds and they want to know by March 31st of that. So they're looking at funds that we anticipate won't be expended. Now, it's not going to affect any of your grants right now because there's plenty of money still sitting in the state level that is unexpended in the grants that we have out there. So what we may end up looking at is deobligating some areas and putting money in other areas if required. But we have a good chunk of money that was never put out. It was never obligated because we didn't know where the customers were going to go. We didn't know the flow. So, that amount of money, that pot of money will be available to FNS as of, March 31st. And the money that we got currently, in sitting in grants, we still have a pretty good chunk in there too. So that amount of money, we're going to be talking to you guys and saying, okay, do you have enough in there? And if we move money between line items, will that help? And then if you need more money, then we'll take a look, because we do have some other areas that their expenditure rate is really low, and they're not going to be expending that, so we'll be deobligating and then potentially moving funds.
We have a couple of other questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we anticipate new requirements that might take time away from the time with clients?
Not that I know of. I think right now we are. I mean, the hope was if we had another cohort that, it would be our very best, and then hopefully you guys could have actually recruited some, but that's not going to happen. And that would have taken, obviously that would have been a huge effort on all of our parts to try and get that going and get more customers in. So at this point, I think what we're looking at is, it's kind of status quo. You guys still have to do your staffings, and, you work with your customers, and the ones that are still in progress, if you pull a report and see all the customers that are still in progress and that are still eligible. And if they're in progress and not eligible, then you need to mark your system accordingly that they're no longer eligible. But if they're in progress and eligible, and those are the customers you need to start really focusing on and saying, okay, where are they at? We need to move them. We need to finish their training. We need to get them employed. So that is really the area I think that you guys need to, if they're employed, you need to be following up on, making sure they're still employed and, getting their wage data. And if they, if they've hit retention, then, hopefully that area, as long as it's documented correctly, should be fine. So
two more questions. Were you done with that one?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like I said, we just need to kind of start, slowing down our operational expenses and then just start closing out our business.
So the other question here is, or one of the others, what is the process for transitioning clients who are not working out of Epik at the end of the grant? We should be preparing customers for the transition if need be. So we'll start working on that, Kelsey. We'll start coming up with a plan of attack for that one. And then
to add to that is if there's anything, a strong element is if you can align them with a WIO program too, if there's additional training. We do have some customers that are co-enrolled. So those that are co-enrolled, the anticipation would be that they continue on in the WIO training program. So that would be if there's other avenues of funding sources, that would be definitely something to consider.
And then another question from Kelsey is, will assessed staffed customers be tracked through iSteps? How would we capture customers who have been transferred to other CBOs?
Olivia has that information, so we will be adding that to your benchmark report. It's not necessarily in the benchmark report now, but that's something that we have kept track of, so that's an element that will be added for the ones that have had customers that have, you've assessed and they've moved on somewhere else.
And then Kelsey is saying if someone has been in Epik for 2 years, not finished training, and or not working, they are not a good WIOA candidate. And I thought WIOA still had the adult component, which would be the people who haven't worked for 2 years. Is that not correct? I've been away from WIOA for 5 or 6 years now. Okay.
And Kelsey, one of the things would be when will they finish training? So just let me know that, because like I said, we really don't want to leave customers, hanging, especially if they're doing well in training. So once again, we can take that may be an exception where we say, okay, they have some customers that are going to finish in August or September. So we will take that into consideration. Right now, we're just extending all the grants to the end of June, but that doesn't mean we can't do another modification once we get this one done. This has to be done because the grants end the end of this month. So we can always make changes, and we will be. And we'll guarantee you we're going to be doing modifications for probably quite a few for you guys in February on budgets. And, related to the budgets, that's one other thing that we're kind of waiting on is with FNS is how we're attributing the cost. The money's there in the line items for those line items, but we want to make sure our budget that we put in aligns better with our expenditures. So that's one of the things that we're requesting for a modification. We have requested for a modification with FNS.
Okay. I think, let's see here. With the service cost section in iSteps, will that directly impact our grants, or is that being used for reviewing the overall grant? Where we're putting the money, the cost associated into the steps on the iSteps, Tammy?
And I guess I'm not really sure of what that question is. The main reason we want, and I think the biggest area we want you to put your cost in is with supportive services. So, with transportation, and, honestly, I'm not sure how you've documented, some people have documented every transportation provided to, a customer as a service, and then some do it as, on a monthly basis or whatever. But the big thing is for us to be able, and once again, this is for evaluation purposes too, us to be able to determine the supportive services provided to customers. And another thing that we can look at and the value of that supportive services, and then we can take a look at that and also evaluate retention in the program based upon some of those factors too. So we are not going to even attempt to try and tie the dollar value by customer to your general ledgers. Although you should be able to do that. You should be able to get a general ledger from your accounting office that identifies, costs. But we're not going to be doing anything like that. We want you to be able to document, your cost of services in there, accurately for evaluation purposes.
All right. So Kelsey just asked if you can call her after the meeting.
I sure can.
After the webinar, because she's going down a rabbit hole right now. Okay, we've got 2 more pieces that Tammy needs to talk about. Both of those items are in the file pod. They are PDFs, and let me see if I can pull them up on my screen. Oh, I closed them. All right, let me get them open again, and I'll pull my screen back up, and this one, and give me 1 second here, pull this up, and
I can talk. So there is, it's called a PFR trial balance. It's in the download pod. And then
it's on the screen right now.
Yeah, down a little bit further, there's a PPR support, and then the draft OET, and I can't see the rest of it. Okay, so I keep calling them DGR and project status reports, but now it's periodic financial report and a periodic performance report, and these are all part of the new GATU systems that have been being developed for a period of time. So one of the things, and this is in our entire office in OET, one of the things that we were looking at when we were looking at the GATA instructions is they had requested any supporting documentation have specific information on that supporting documentation, which was a grant number, grantee name, DUNS number, FEEN, period of report. So this information that is showing on the screen right now. Originally, they had said that they wanted that information on every piece of supporting documentation, which would have been a nightmare for you guys to try and add that, because especially with the trial balances, we want the trial balances to come from your system. So it's not like you're doing this in a Word document or something. So we reached out to our accounting office and also to our accountability office related to this and asked if we could do a cover sheet, and they agreed to that. So with supporting documentation, you need to complete this cover sheet and then let us know how many pages. And in your file, when you're sending that supporting documentation, that will be the cover page with the rest of the documentation that you'll send in with it. In you guys' case, the supporting documentation for the financial part is the trial balance. So you'll have the PPR, or periodical financial report, will have a trial balance attached to that, and however many pages of that you need to submit with that. For the periodical performance report, your data is actually going to be coming from the benchmark report in WorkNet system. But at this point, you guys don't have to submit that because that is still some work under construction. So I'm not as worried about this cover sheet for the PPR. If you could submit the cover sheet with the information in it, that's great. And then the supporting documentation we can pull out from the benchmark reports. But I know that there's the WorkNet team is still working on a few adjustments on that particular report. So the big thing is your PFR to complete that and put the trial balance along with that. So if there's any questions on that, and those are due on the 30th. And once again, I sent out an email to everybody a week or two ago relating to these being due with the files. If you've got the file, it's a really easy report. You just need to update the one that you did because a lot of that is just checking some boxes and signing it. So use the one that you used the last quarter, if you know where that is, and then just change the appropriate dates and everything on that. And then add this cover letter for your support documentation.
All right. Olivia, D'Amico wants to know if you're available for a quick call after the webinar.
I sure am.
All right.
I can give
So
you a call and go.
I believe that is it. I'm going to move these pods over so that you guys can check in if you did not already check in.
And just for your information, there is some extra when we went over this on one of the other webinars, the IDHS SPCF document, and there's a security, and I can't read the rest of it, document. Those are DHS documents. On the 31st, they are still going to be doing a webinar for you guys to explain how you can access their systems. So even though we're shortening this, this grant time, that's still an opportunity for you guys, and I think you should participate. You should participate in that to see how you can access the systems, because this could be something as we're moving along. I mean, you guys may end up becoming a JPP provider, or there may be other opportunities through the Snap to Success, which is going to be coming, online probably. They're testing it right now, but probably sometime next year that you can be involved in that. So I strongly recommend that if everybody participate in that and take a look at those documents. It is a little bit of a heavy lift on filling those out, but it may be beneficial to your organization to be able to access, the IES information. And that will be on the 31st again.
All right. All right. Does anybody have any questions that we can answer for you?
If you haven't responded to the surveys, please do so, because we're going to be taking a look at these, and then that's going to be where I'm reaching out, especially on the budget information.
Mary Beth wants to know if she's going to get an invite to that webinar that you were just referring to.
That is actually our Wednesday webinar, and it's on January 31st. So it's this webinar that we're on right now. It'll be the same number, same login.
All righty. Anything else for the good of the cause? Oh, excuse me. If not, I'm going to stop the recording.